Hi everyone, it's Desiree and I am here with Spellbinders. So we are going to be creative and play around with the new Glimmer backgrounds called Modern Lines, and there are many other items within this collection, and obviously I can't spell Glimmer because I see that spelled Glimmer on my front cover page. Yay! Sorry about that. So this is the plate that we will be working with. These have some great lines. They're very sketchy lines. So there's nothing, perfect about these. What I will find is that these will work great with the rainbow foil. Now, I do apologize. So I'm doing a voiceover here. I did have voice to this. For some reason, it just won't come live. So my hands are going to look kind of funny as I'm talking. As always, sorry about that. So you can put your foil either way. I think having the lines go the opposite way from the way the plate is going to be absolutely perfect. So you can, what's great with this system is cut two pieces of foil and lay them on top of each other. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I am also going to try this opal. I'm curious of what it will look like on black. So curiosity's killing the cat on this one. So we're going to see some different techniques. I'm mainly going to be using some white cardstock. There go those hands. Some white cardstock, but I also want to try some black, and I'm going to be pulling in some dark gray. So let's start with getting the lines very simply put up and down onto this card panel. So I am going to use some washi tape. I do find that when I use some low-tack washi tape, I can manipulate this a little bit better. Now, what I did find is, since this piece, these lines are going from edge to edge. So what I have found is to put the foil down first, and that's what I'm figuring out here. Now, for some reason, this foil, and for some reason I lost my mic there, so sorry. For some reason, this foil is flaking. Now, I think that's because it was the end. I was crinkling it, and so forth. But it didn't do any damage, and it's not that it didn't foil at all either. So I'm going to piece these two pieces together when we foil. So even though I have this adhered, because the lines go from edge to edge, I'm going to lift that up, place my foil down, and then place the plate down on top of this, and then push the washi tape over to secure it in place. Get it up on my glimmer so that it can heat up, and then we will run it through the die cutting machine and see the beautiful rainbow that comes off of this piece. Now again, please do not, the plates are hot, the system itself does get warm. Don't do what I do and touch these things with your fingers. Please use the tools that are recommended. Just a little FYI. Don't do what I do, please. Nobody needs to get burned. I like to keep hog brushes off to the side just to clean out the little tiny flakes that are still sitting in there, especially when the pieces or the foiling areas are close together. The foiling will stay attached, and just by using a stiff hog brush, it will clean those areas up. So now on to the next panel with these lines. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make the lines go vertical on our card and get that set. So I'm just going to cut some strips just to get ready, because I'm really liking the way that these rainbows are coming across onto our card panel. Now, right now, I'm just using white. As I said, I will use the opal for the black because that one's just got my curiosity going. And then I'm actually also going to use the rainbow on a dark gray. What would it look like on a darker cardstock as well? So the same thing, I'm going to lay down my foil. I'm going to set my plate in place. We're going to get that to be heat set, run that through the die cutting machine. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go horizontally across those lines. So I'm going to create these lines going up and down, and then of course side to side to see what that does. So same process. I'm going to lay down the foils, and I just need one of those because they're already the width of the cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Again, we're going to heat set that, and we're going to see what that does. Now, what's really interesting, and you'll see this later on in the video, of what happens when some of these foils, when they overlap. I am loving that center block. Picture a cardstock, your cardstock panel completely done with these lines just going back and forth. I think it would add a lot of texture. When I did that, when I crossed over going horizontally, it made me question the silver dots. If you remember, I had used these silver or these polka dots before in a previous. These are from the Yana Smakula foiled collection, and created, had them going on an angle and so forth. I wanted to see what these would look like if I went over those lines. What would this do? Would it be a completely silver dot, or would it be something where the lines would cut through, and so on? So something really interesting came out over this as I'm pulling this all through the system. I'm going to pull this plate off. Again, use the tools that come with the system. Do not use your fingers because it is very warm. Once I have that set, I'm just going to clean some of the foiling away with the hog brush that I have there. And now I'm going to set for the polka dots. And again, I'm going to do that in silver. And right now I'm just looking at where do I want this to be placed. Do I want this to be on the left or the right? I settled on the left, and I'm going to cut a couple pieces. Again, I'm going to piece them together. So I'm going to have 2 pieces of foiling coming on top of each other, and I'll line it up with the side of the card panel so that I know where I'm placing it. Now, since I'm doing it this way with the foiling, you want to make sure that your shiny side is up. The color that you want to be on your card is up, because you're going to press that down onto the cardstock. When you're doing this on your glimmer plate, you want to make sure that the shiny side is down. I'm going to get my washi tape in place, and I'm going to just roll that over to the side so that it does hold that. I didn't want this to shift, and I love it how my hands are doing different things because I lost the voiceover. There's the black piece of cardstock that I'm going to use the opal with, and for the gray, I'm going to just use that one section. So I went through and I did all of the panels. So you can see here's the first one that we did. We've got the gradient of the rainbow going up. You can't see the seam line when it comes to the 2 pieces of foiling coming together, which is awesome. But you can see all of those beautiful colors. I am in love with this one. I love the fact that when it cross-hatched, it didn't, when you went from left to right, those didn't stay on top. Some of them did. In other areas, the ones going up and down came to the top. So I guess it all depends on the pressure, but it really looks like these lines are interwoven, which I think is great. When it comes to the polka dots, when it hits the light, you see all the silver. But when you take it out of the light, some of those lines, because they're embedded down, the silver went around them. So I thought that was very interesting and really cool looking to get that effect. But you can see you can layer and foil over your different items, whether it's a sentiment or whether it's a background. And that's what I would look for to do this with when you're layering your foiling, is do it with the backgrounds, because it holds on to the texture that was there first. For the gray cardstock, you can see I have the impression of the lines because I only used 1 piece of the foil. So if you don't have too many embossing folders and you have this glimmer system and these plates, you can actually get this texture embedded into your cardstock. This is what the opal looks like. It is an absolutely beautiful color. Now, the only suggestion that I would have is the opal foil is see-through. So you can't, there's no way to, for me, okay, I'm just saying for me, there's no way to say what's the right side, what's the wrong side, because remember, shiny side down onto the plate so that it goes onto your cardstock. So I just remember with that, as I'm pulling it off, that's the side that I want down onto the cardstock. So as I'm pulling it, I will make sure I make that note. When it comes to the others, you know what's the right side and the wrong side. So just keep that in mind. That was something that I realized. So let's see the cards that we made. So when it comes to the cards, I used the expressions sets by Spellbinders that are available through stores. They're not available online through their shop. And I'll try to see if I can find them. These are older sets, and if I can find them, I'll link them down below. But there's a thanks expressions, hello expressions, enjoy expressions. So whatever the words you're seeing, that's the expressions you're getting there. But I do love the fact that they have the shadow and then the sentiment that sits on top. And I think these were perfect just to make these simple note cards to give to your recipient. What I also found interesting is depending upon the matte color choice that you gave was the color that you would see. So when I used that blue matte, the blue and the purples pulled out. When I used the pink matte, the reds and the pinks came out. But when I used the yellow matte, you really got to see the yellow within the rainbow that you foiled. It kind of stood out for you, at least to your eye. So remember, look at different matte choices as well, and that will help pull out the colors that you're foiling onto your cardstock. So there are so many more possibilities when it comes to this background plate, and I encourage you to try all the different styles that you can come up with. And there are many backgrounds in this collection as well. So as always, I will have them linked down below, of course, with the one that I use, the Modern Lines, down below in the video description if you wanted to see that in the entire collection. If you have a question, make sure you leave that down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I hope everyone is enjoying their day. I hope everyone is continuing to be safe and healthy as we continue to go through our challenge that's across the globe. But remember what's most important for me. Always be creative.